Jazmin Logan, and I'm joined by Emeritus Political Science Professor Dr. David Kanervo. Today we'll be covering news in American politics relating to the recent government shutdown, President Donald Trump's statements on Tylenol, and the District 7 primary election. So stay tuned.
There are 10 schools like this across the island, educators here say, and that there is autism in Cuba.
It has been 8 days since the government shut down, and Americans are starting to feel the impact. Congress still appears deadlocked on a funding plan, and now the shutdown is directly affecting air travel. A dozen Federal Aviation Administration facilities across the U.S. saw staffing shortages last night as air traffic controllers call out sick. Arvin Rodriguez reports on the travel turbulence and how the Department of Transportation is responding.
The government shutdown is not just a Washington problem. It's now landing at airports across the country. The Department of Transportation says more than 13,000 air traffic controllers are expected to continue working through the government shutdown, but without pay. Some are starting to not show up. With the government shutdown sliding into its 7th day, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says air traffic controllers are wondering if there's an end in sight.
They're thinking about, am I going to get a paycheck?
Controllers are considered essential workers, so they must work during the shutdown, but are not being paid.
We want to make sure we have air travel safe and controllers focused not on their mortgages, not on their next paycheck, not on food on the table, but actually on making sure you and your family are safe.
12 FAA facilities saw staffing shortages Monday night. The control towers in Burbank, Phoenix, and Denver had so-called staffing triggers reported in the public FAA operations plan. Other facilities that handle air traffic around airports in Newark, New Jersey, Jacksonville, Florida, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Indianapolis also were short-staffed, which in some cases caused hours-long delays.
If we have additional sick calls, we will reduce the flow consistent with a rate that's safe for the American people.
Former air traffic controller Harvey Skolnick says anytime a facility isn't staffed properly, it has a ripple effect.
It has an effect on breaks. It has an effect on controllers getting time off. It has an effect on training. And the job is tough enough as it is. And when you have to work 6 days a week, and now you're not getting paid on time, so everything has a cumulative effect on the FAA.
The FAA is expecting short staffing at some facilities across the country, according to its operations plan. Chicago's O'Hare International Airport Air Traffic Control Tower will be short-staffed until midnight. As for Hollywood Burbank Airport, the towers are not expected to shut down again, but without a full staff of controllers, delays are likely. Other facilities with short staffing include Nashville, Houston, Newark, and Las Vegas, and flights in the Boston area. I'm Arvin Rodriguez reporting.
Shutdowns often come down to political standoffs. Dr. Kanervo, what does each side risk losing if neither is willing to compromise?
Well, without compromise, both sides are threatening to lose public support, and that's so key, particularly, of course, with the midterm elections coming up next year. Both parties want as much public support as possible, of course, for their candidates, and so it turns into a blame game. Who do you blame? Do you blame the Republicans? Do you blame the Democrats? And each side is going to be presenting their case in such a way so as to influence, of course, prospective voters. Republicans are saying that, of course, it's important to get the government back open, that they're willing to negotiate with the Democrats after the government has reopened, and that the House has already passed a continuing resolution, so the Senate ought to go ahead and do the same thing, get things back open, and then they'll work out the problems. Democrats, on the other hand, are saying that the health care problems that we have in this country are too important, that there needs to be negotiation ahead of time work out a deal so that the healthcare costs will not skyrocket if the wonderful new perfect big beautiful bill goes into effect and reduces subsidies for healthcare insurance. So those are the big issues, and it depends on which side has a better chance of winning public opinion.
Very true. How have we seen these government shutdowns shape policy and elections in the past?
Well, I don't know that I can point to a specific example of where an election has been turned because of a shutdown, or that a policy has shifted dramatically. But certainly what does make a difference is, again, public opinion and what happens with the ultimate compromise, which does occur eventually to get government reopened. Which side is likely to blink a little bit and give in something on policy. And so that's really where the policy change is going to occur, where if the Republicans give in and they're able to, the Democrats are able to maintain the subsidies for the health care insurance, that will make a big difference for those who are on health care subsidies. If the Democrats give in, then the reverse, of course, will be the case, and a lot of people will lose either health insurance or their subsidies, and they'll face a huge increase in their payments, and in some cases not be able to make those payments, so lose health care. So that's where the policy implications come in, again, based on which side has to give in.
Have we seen our government so far make those attempts at those bipartisan negotiations to hopefully end this shutdown?
Well, there really haven't been much in the way of negotiations right now. There are, I think, some Republican and Democratic senators who may be talking behind the scenes, but there's not really been any kind of what I would call formal negotiations, which would seem to be moving us forward at all. So things appear right now to be in a standoff. What happens a week from now, or 3 or 4 days even from now, is another matter. But right now we're not seeing any progress.
You mentioned that the shutdown could affect healthcare in general for Americans, but for people here in Clarksville and across Tennessee, what might they start to notice if the shutdown continues beyond just airport delays?
Well, in Clarksville, of course, the soldiers are not being paid, and so those families are going to be losing quite a bit, well, most of their income, unless the spouse works as well. And so that's an issue. It's certainly not fair to the soldiers for them to not be paid, but that's the reality of the situation. Some will become dependent upon food banks and other social services that are still operating, private social services. It's going to be a matter of people in Clarksville perhaps finding delays at BNA. They try to fly out from Nashville to other places. We're seeing that already occur in a number of cities, Nashville being one of them. We're going to see problems with perhaps businesses losing customers because they aren't going to have money to go out and shop or go out to dinner or do other things. And so there's really going to be a lot of inconvenience, a lot of loss of income, which is going to be facing both businesses and also government employees.
Do you think this could negatively impact the economy?
I don't see this coming to an end anytime soon, unfortunately. And so this is going to continue, and I don't know that I see an end in sight. There will be one, of course, eventually, but when that's going to occur is hard to predict at this time, and it's going to be a lot of pain, I think, for a lot of families.
Of course, and if this continues to be prolonged, what kind of effects could we see this have on the economy? You mentioned some families might be making less income, spending less money.
Well, you can see, of course, small businesses particularly hurt by a lack of customers. The big corporations, the big box corporations, are ones which have a nationwide clientele, and so they're able to perhaps earn money where in cities that are not so terribly affected. But Clarksville tends to be more affected because, of course, of the military base located here, and because of the dependence that we have out there, they make up a large percentage of our population.
Well, we'll be right back after this short break to discuss Trump's claims about Tylenol causing autism.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Last month, President Donald Trump linked autism to Tylenol use during pregnancy, despite decades of evidence that it's safe. He also falsely claimed that autism is not present in Cuba because people there don't use painkillers and fever reducers. CNN's Patrick Ottman visited a school for children with autism in Havana to find out more.
There are 10 schools like this across the island, educators here say, and that there is autism in Cuba is no secret, which is why, they tell us, they were caught off guard by U.S. President Donald Trump last month.
There are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one. And there are other parts of the world where they don't have Tylenol, where they don't have autism. That tells you a lot.
Both of Trump's claims that there is next to no autism and no Tylenol in Cuba are contradicted by the facts on the ground. We've already shown you that yes, autism exists in Cuba, and as well, for decades, Cubans had readily accessible to them a locally produced version of Tylenol. But that medicine, like many others, is becoming harder and harder to find as Cuba endures the worst economic crisis in years. And so Cubans are increasingly having to find medicines like Tylenol on the black market rather than in government pharmacies. Cuban psychologists studying autism say they're unaware of any link between Tylenol and the condition, the same conclusion reached by many other scientists around the world. There are many factors behind someone being diagnosed with autism. It's very unique. It has to do with genetics. There are some factors that are hereditary, others no. Autism is part of life in Cuba. And it's also true that people with autism face the same shortages that everyone else here does, which the Cuban government maintains are primarily the result of increased U.S. economic sanctions. This school has been hit hard by daily power cuts and plummeting salaries for state employees. We do lack things, she says. To say we do not lack things, materials, and tools isn't true. We need them. The human resources we have, which is the most important.
Dr. Kanervo, we just saw President Trump's recent comments on autism in Cuba stir some controversy. Do you think politicians have a responsibility to fact-check before making claims about science and medicine, or is that more left to the public and media to figure out afterward?
Well, I think politicians should make every effort to be accurate and truthful in what they present to the public. It seems to me that they are looked at as important people, and that a lot of people have faith in them and what they say and believe them. And so it's important, I think, to present the truth, facts to the public as much as possible. You would expect the president, of course, to have advisors and consultants who would be able to provide him with those facts and to try to make sure, of course, that what he says is honest. In this case, I don't know that happened, frankly. The healthcare professionals seem to have the evidence on their side, which says that Tylenol does not, in fact, create or cause autism to occur during pregnancy. We know that autism existed before Tylenol was ever manufactured. And so, given that fact, there has to be other elements involved, it seems to me, in causing autism. Environmental factors, perhaps, that we have not identified, or other kinds of medicinal treatments that go back a long time. I don't know when the first autistic child was identified, but certainly it goes back before the 50s. It was, I think, 1955 or so when Tylenol was first created. And so it just seems to me that there needs to be a better alignment of the facts about the medicine and the conditions that might be caused by it, because as we know, that lead to a lot of confusion and a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Yes, and with the current polarized climate, how quickly can this kind of misinformation, especially about sensitive topics like autism, spread and shape political opinion?
Well, I would think in the case of the issue of pregnancy and autism, that it could spread quickly, because a lot of pregnant women have friends who are also pregnant, know of others, and they talk. All women are going to be concerned about the health of their the fetus and their prospective child, and so they're going to do what they can to keep that child healthy. And so they're going to be concerned about potential threats to that child, talk among each other, find out what each other's heard, and try to do what they think is right. And so when you have evidence, or at least statements, which are not necessarily based on evidence or necessarily true, that creates a lot of mistrust about what people say. It creates problems for what the mother should do in her own life. Mothers get headaches. What do you do about that? What can you take? You're not supposed to take aspirin. You're not supposed to take Advil. What's left? Well, the president in his statement seemed to say, well, women have to just tough it out. Well, that's not much of a prescription for women to follow. And so it leads to lots of problems, confusion, misinformation, what they can do and what they can't do.
Yes, it's very true. And you're right, Tylenol is one of the only drugs that has been determined as safe for a pregnant woman to take whenever they're dealing with aches and pains or allergies or anything. So for our president to put it under this sort of lens that it's harming the children and causing autism, although science supports the opposite, it could put pregnant women in a tough position.
You know, what bothers me is for a president who really doesn't trust science that much, who is not a scientist himself. It's a little bit like me trying to perform brain surgery. No one in their right mind would go under the knife with me at the handle. And so it's very bothersome to me that we have here Health and Human Service Director who is not a scientist and who has been very critical of vaccines, which we know are safe and effective. They have historically been so. And a president who is in many ways the same mindset as Mr. Kennedy. And so it leads to real problems, unfortunately, for the public in who to believe.
Yes. And for families here in Tennessee who live with autism, what should they take away from stories like this one that mix politics with the health misinformation?
Well, even as a political scientist, politics and medicine are not necessarily a good mix. Using ideology, using political biases, political beliefs for science or for medicinal prescriptions just simply is not a good thing to do. And so you need to depend upon your own personal family doctor and his or her own knowledge and background.
Yes, those with the qualifications to make those calls and determinations.
Exactly.
Well, we'll be right back after this short break to discuss the recent election and the upcoming general, so stay tuned.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Thanks for sticking around. Clarksville's congressional race is now set for December. Republican Matt Van Epps, endorsed by President Trump and Governor Bill Lee, celebrated his primary win at Shelby's Trio, calling it halftime and urging Republicans to unite. Meanwhile, at the Gray Fox Bar and Lounge, I covered Democrat Afton Benn's watch party for Clarksville Now, where she said, quote, "Tennessee is ready for a new kind of Democrat." Epps, Ben, and 4 independents will now face off in the December 2nd general election to fill Mark Green's former seat. Voter registration ends November 3rd, with early voting beginning November 12th. Dr. Kanervo, Epps and Ben both framed their wins as just the beginning. What does each candidate need to do now to continue building that momentum heading into December's race?
Well, it seems to me one thing that Mr. Epps needs to do, of course, is to talk with supporters of his other Republican challengers and try to unite the party behind him. He needs, one of the things that he did not do, which was good, is to attack the other candidates. As we've seen on television, some of the candidates were attacking others. And that's not a good way to build unity, of course, after the election, if you are not the winner. And so Mr. Epps did not do that. He did not attack others, and so that's a good thing for him. And it makes it easier for him to reach out to the other candidates and to their followers and to try to bring people together. The fact that he is been endorsed by the president is helpful to him, because Republican Party is, for the most part, the MAGA party, and there's a very strong following within the party for the president, and so a lot of what he says and does has support among those followers in the party, and so Epps should benefit from that. Of course, we have a Republican majority in this district, and so that is beneficial right off the bat to him. He has this support that makes it a situation where if he loses at the election, it's his election to lose, that it's him who has lost the election, because the base of support is already there. In the case of Bain, it seems to me she needs to define what she means by being a new kind of Democrat. I don't know what she means by that myself at this point. I know she's a social worker, that she is concerned about health care, that she's concerned about other issues that affect people's lives directly and their welfare. But she needs to talk about what a new kind of Democrat is. We know from polling that even though there is some drop in the president's public opinion support, that public opinion support for the Democratic Party as a whole is not good. It's been very low, that ever since Biden left office, well, even during the end of Biden's term for that matter, that people have not been drawn to the Democratic Party. Many have fallen away from it, and there needs to be some thinking about why that's the case and what Epps can do, or what Bain can do about regaining that support.
Very true, and I think she is starting to take those steps to make her intentions more clear. She did mention at her watch party on Tuesday that she is fighting for health care. She wants to fix the roads and clear up some of those potholes, and she mentioned that she's going to be going over the grocery tax to help families get a break that she thinks they need. So I think you're right that Tennesseans need to hear more from her, especially since we are in a supermajority red state. That would probably help her in this election as well. And with Van Epps having that base already with Trump and Lee supporting him, it's interesting to see how this race is going to turn out.
Sure.
Well, that is all we have for you guys today. That wraps up another edition of Inside the System. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more political coverage. Stay informed and see you next edition. Enjoy your fall break.